On tonight's No Disco, we pay very special homage to one of the great groundbreaking and rule-breaking bands of Irish musical history, Planxty.
There were three drunken maidens came from the Isle of Wights. They started the drink.
You know, they could really rock out with four acoustic instruments on something like the 42-pound check, you know, which I still kind of play quite regularly in DJ sets.
Yeah, I know of one song, I'm not going to say which one I deliberately robbed from, but there's a tune on the first album that's certainly inspired by the song.
Yeah.
Shit, they're going to come running after me now.
And I will be your equal before the evening's out. These three drunken maidens, they push the jug about.
The great Irish trad and classical arranger and composer Sean O'Riordan changed the face of Irish music in the late 50s by developing a new group dynamic with his ensemble of virtuoso traditional musicians, Ceoltóirí Cúlan. Their work would go on to inspire future generations of such bands. One of those bands was Planxty. Starting with the four original members of Andy Irvine, Liam O'Flynn, Donal Lunny and Christy Moore, Planxty began a musical journey in the early 70s, creating a unity of ballad singing, folk guitar styles, Eastern European music and American roots with traditional Irish music. It was here in Dowling's pub in Prosperous where a young Christy Moore and a young Donal Lunny attended their first trad sessions. In fact, it was in this very room where they saw Liam O'Flynn play pipes for the first time. Pat Dowling, the landlord, was a hugely respected man. He kept all the instruments on standby: baron, flute, banjo, fiddle, accordion, in case a musician popped in and felt like joining in on the session.
Well, I suppose with Liam, I was very fortunate, and the first piper I ever heard was Liam O'Flynn. He was from about 8 miles away, and I used to hear him playing in Prosperous. And I was just blown away by what I heard, by the sound of the instrument, when I didn't realise when I heard him that he was such a wonderful player. It was only as time went on I came to realise that he was a maestro, you know. With Donal, we just more or less grew up together. We grew into music together. With Andy Irvine, I'd known his work before, during and after Sweeney's Men, and that coupled with the magic of Sweeney's Men, I loved what they did. Sweeney's Men awakened something in me. I heard it over in England and I was just blown away by the sound.
Oh, he was big. He was huge on the English folk scene at that time, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think just after that he'd said, would you do a gig for me in somewhere in the southwest of England, because I'm double booked. And he said, it's £15. I thought, oh, that was a few pounds more than I was getting. And I got there and the guy said, ladies and gentlemen, he said, I'm terribly sorry Christy Moore can't appear tonight, but he sent along, I can't remember his name, but here he is.
In the early 60s, O'Donoghue's pub here on Bagot Street was a focal point of the emerging folk scene. It was here that Paddy and Maureen O'Donoghue offered bowls of soup and pints to struggling young troubadours. Characters such as Luke Kelly, Ronnie Drew and Johnny Moynihan swapped songs and ideas long before they were considered legends. Another one of these young beatniks was Andy Irvine, a London-born musician of Irish and Scottish parentage.
Parents of fame and renown, oh, had I been obedient and kept the command, I never would have broken the laws of the land.
Long before Sweeney's Men or Planxty, this was the place where Andy sang English folk songs over a drone emanating from a broken cistern in the men's toilets. As it turned out, Andy would spend much of his musical career singing along to drones.
You know, my mother was a musical comedy actress, and I had all these old 78s, cracked and whatever, and I used to play them. And I didn't like the music, but I liked something about it, you know. And so I guess I always knew that I was interested in music, but it took the first 15 years to discover what it was. And Woody was as soon as I heard Woody, I remember the moment really well. I bought this record. I had no idea who he was, whether he was famous or whatever. I put this record on, and the turntable was one of those automatic ones, you know, so it clicked, and I sat down and I waited, and the very first beat, I thought, yes, this is it, discovered it at last.
The first incarnation of Sweeney's Men was formed around 1966 with Andy Irvine and his folk buddies Johnny Moynihan and Joe Dolan. Moynihan had introduced them to the Greek bouzouki, and together with Andy they initiated the famous mandolin bouzouki interplay that would later become a strong feature of Planxty's music.
That was kind of invented by Johnny and me one night in his parents' kitchen, which I remember well. He was playing Rattling Roaring Willie, and he was trying to get the phrasing of the tune, and we suddenly decided to put a harmony to it, you know, and I think that was perhaps the beginning of the bouzouki mandolin interplay. I think the thing about Johnny is that he's never changed. You know, we've all evolved, but Johnny decided on his principles a long, long time ago, and he's never wavered from them since then.
That was part. It was also the accents they sang in, and there was something very real for me about it. They weren't kind of chronicling the music. They were living it. And they had the lifestyle of it, and they were innovative. Johnny Moynihan, very innovative man, you know. They were very exciting.
Yeah. Trapped in the middle of Ireland's showband era, Sweeney's Men stuck out like a sore thumb with their scruffy demeanour and innovative interpretations of Irish, Scottish and American folk songs.
I was in Sweeney's Men for a year, 2 years, nearly. And by that time, I kind of had enough, because we used to play, we used to play in dance halls. We'd only play for 20 minutes or something in a dance hall, but it was absolute hell, because the show band would never, they'd never change the settings on their amplifier for you. So you had the vocalist's mic, which was kind of volume 11, like, you know, and you had the brass player's mic, which was volume 1. And the other two guys, if I was singing the song, the other two guys would be as close as they could to this big, Shure bulkhead mic, you know, going kind of hitting it as hard as they could, and maybe singing harmonies like that. And I'd be holding my instrument up to the hot mic and trying to sing into it. And there were no monitors, so it was echoing around this big concrete space with 1,500 people who weren't listening anyway, you know. I had some dreadful moments. I sang The Old Maid in the Garret, which was our big hit number. I sang it in